I'm Michael. So this is my first talk presentation ever, so excuse me being a little bit nervous. I try not to rush too much because I have actually quite a few examples, and it's a bit of a fun talk, so as we're on a Java conference, I actually expect 50% of the people to actually know this, but half of them are actually real examples that happened to me or to some colleagues doing some testing, doing coding, and we were looking at the code and what, this is Java, okay, but why? This is totally wrong syntax, so why this is reacting like this is weird, we didn't know this. So, and I thought, okay, let's collect this a little bit, make a talk out of it, add a few that I found online or some other places. Yes, maybe shortly about myself. I'm Java software developer. I recently started a postcode Lotterie. I also have a few colleagues here. Please do not think that I code like this in real life normally. So, how I've built this up is I've basically just test cases, and they mostly fail. And we will look to so why is it actually failing? So the first one here is I have a class. Object initiated, and the second variable is simply null. So, so the first test, this one here, basically, okay, this should work because I have this method here. Give me 5, should work, right? The second one, it's called or nothing. So null, okay, that should give a null pointer exception, right? The next one here, yeah, should also give a null pointer exception. So I have these asserts here. However, if I run this test, see, it's failing, because actually I expect a null pointer exception, and you would think, okay, why I call null dot give me this? No, null pointer exception is super weird, right? So, anyone an idea? It's a problem. Yeah, exactly. So, and I realized most people seem not to know that. You know, they think, okay, null dot give me something. Should give a null pointer, but it doesn't because there's a static method, and actually in Java allows to do that. It's documented, even. Okay, next one, this one here. So let's see. I have two variables, 0 and negative. So one is 0, the other one is -1. And 0 smaller than the minimum value of the integer. That should be basically false because you know, integer can be negative, right? So the minimum value is minus something, so 0 shouldn't be smaller, so this is false. Next one here, with double, okay, I would expect the same, right? And negative, also smaller than this. First test seemed to be okay. This one is failing. 0 is smaller than the minimum value. Okay, strange, okay. Actually, this happened quite a lot during testing because you want to have some constants, there's some tests defined, there's a test case, and then you think, okay, this is kind of super weird. So if you look at this, the minimum value is actually the kind of the smallest value you can put in there, kind of very close to 0, right? And if you actually want this, what you actually need to do is, basically you need this other constant here. So there's a bit of an inconsistency in Java because here for integer you have the minimum value, actually this really the most negative number that they can have. But for double, this is defined differently, like it's the kind of the, let's say, tiniest number, let's say. And if you want to actually have the most negative one, you need negative infinity. I've seen quite a few people making this mistakes in some tests. They want to use this, and then, yeah. This is also failing here, so here we actually also need this. Negative infinity, if I run this. It should be good. Yes. Okay. Let's get to the next one. Big decimal. So this actually also really happened a lot during one of my projects because if you go if you have a database connection with Hibernate, for example, then you often have a big decimal coming from the database. So then you have some test cases. You think, okay, I need some, test data. So let's make something. And with a big decimal, so the first thing here I have, okay, I'm using this constructor, so 0.25. Second time, and this is equal. Test passes. Then here I do the same with 0 and 1, and this is failing. it's kind of super weird, right? Because you think, okay, why? The reason is you should actually use the string constructor, not the other one. It is actually documented. So if you click on this, you will see the documentation that this has a little bit unexpected behavior. However, this can actually happen really easily if you do this, because if you just do some copy and paste there in your test cases, then you come up with this, and suddenly you think, okay, what is this? For the ones who know IntelliJ, I have switched off the inspection, so you normally get a warning. I've switched it off just to, not to make it too obvious for this presentation. Then I have this one here. This is a little bit in the, let's say, awkward one. So I have this really little bit strange method here, and I'm printing out weird handing JFall, right? So this is not a test case. I just did a system printout just to make this whole thing a little bit more obvious. Okay, this is not what I wanted to do, actually. Wanted to run this. Okay, I knew that this is going to fail. Maybe. Okay, sorry, this is, okay, I made a few more to, I have some backups to, I don't know what this is doing now. Do I have time still? Okay. I see fog, I will run it again if I have time enough in the end. This one here, this actually happened to me like 500 million times, even though I did know it. But every time I made a mistake again, also some of my colleagues. So I have here this list that has a few cities in the Netherlands, Amsterdam, Utrecht, Alkmaar, and Eindhoven. So I'm doing this stream here. I filter out all the cities starting with an A, so it will be Amsterdam and Alkmaar. And then I check, do all match this condition here? So is the length equal or bigger than 7? So this should be all of them, because this is 7 and this is more. So I expect this to be true right here, this here. Let's see if this is correct. Run. Okay, this one passed and this failed. So let's see. Starting with the sets, this is basically none of them, right? And so none of them is bigger than 7, right? Starting with a set, but still, this is true. This is super weird. There's an explanation for this, because if you go to the all match, yeah, if you don't know this, you can check Wikipedia, but if you do this on an empty set, it's always true by definition. It's a little bit weird. It's called, it has a mathematical reason, but I did this already wrong 500,000 times, and every time I thought, oh my God, yes, it was like this. Then this one here, this, I think, I can't remember, that was some of my, I think, previous colleagues in the project who did this. Was also a copy and paste thing, doing some testing. So I have this integer, 123, comparing it to 123, so I expect this first test to pass, obviously, second one as well. Yeah, this should actually fail, right? 83, okay, weird. And this one here, so let's run this. Yeah, only this one is failing. So 123 is not equal to 123, but 123 is equal to 83. This is kind of weird. And yeah, again, if you do some copy and paste and you forgot the Java syntax, because I think most of us are not using this frequently, if you start a literal with 0, it means an octal number. But if you do this accidentally, especially with this string here, yeah, you can make this mistake easily, basically. So and then you think, okay, why is this happening? Yeah, this is also, and then next one is, so if you do this, I create an integer, yeah, A and B, they're all, so I do the loop, and I check if it's the same. So, and assert same does not do assert, it's not assert equals, so that would check if it's just, the uses the equality method, but here it's really if it's the same object, right? So if I run this, yeah, okay, it's going to fail. Interesting. So how can I make it pass? So the interesting thing is, if I put here 120, I would still expect this to fail, right? However, it's going to pass. The question is why. Now, yeah, okay, actually the wrapper classes like integer and double, etc., they actually also interned like strings. So, but this only happens until 128, strangely. So until then, you actually have exactly the same object. If you go above, you have different objects. So this is a performance thing of Java. But that can also happen, I think, easily if you do some testing. Now, the next one is actually quite... I really did not know this one here. I'm curious if anybody here knows that one. So I have this method here. And yeah, it doesn't anything special. So if I go here and rename this, right? For example, I can do that. I can rename this to anything, right? Test. So... And however, what I cannot do is I cannot use a Java keyword here, right? So I cannot use this, call this, for example, if this gives me a syntax error, correct? So if I call this int, that doesn't work, right? Not possible. However, there's one keyword I can use here. Any idea? Yes, exactly. So you can actually call this, but still now I suddenly have a problem here, because if I use this here, this doesn't work anymore. However, I can call this with one single parameter, and it does work. The question is why? Read the JDocs, it's explained. It's a bit, yeah, I think only people who would develop some libraries would need this functionality for this reason that I've explained. I don't have time to get into this here, so let's check it yourself in the JDoc why, if you don't know it. Yeah, then this one here, it's also one thing that most people, I think, forget. So I have this, actually I put a URL here, right? It looks like an URL, but it's obviously not. I think most people can guess what this actually is. What I would like to have is here, you see if I come here with this number, so if it's smaller than 5, then the maximum is 5, there's some random functionality. But if I come here with my 2 here, then I go into here, that is, right? And then I still go here, so actually my max will be 10, right? But I want to have 5. So obviously this test is going to fail. However, probably I think most people do not remember that actually Java has labels, right? So this is actually a label and this is a comment. So then, yeah, basically this does run then, right? So then this is 5. Because I stop here, I break basically this block here. This is okay, I admit this is actually meant for loops and stuff like this normally, but you can also use it just in a block with curly parentheses. I don't advocate the use of this, by the way. So. How much do I have? Okay, I have 2 minutes left, I think, right? So I wonder, yeah, this one is also a really strange thing is, you know how to declare an array. Most people, you can do it like this or like this, interestingly. So the old C way. So, but I think this is still kind of clear to most people. But what you also can do is, which I also actually, I knew about this one, but I totally forgot about this one, that you can actually also do this with methods to put it here instead of in front of it. This is valid Java syntax. So I don't think many people use this, but it's valid. So, well, it does work, as you can see. You can run this, yeah, it does work. Let me just see, I have 1 minute left. So this one here, I was working in a legacy project, and actually this, not exactly this mess, but something very similar was used quite often there. So if I run this now here, you would expect I have this enum here, 1 and 2. I overwrote I mean, there's a string in there, so it gives 1 and 2, right? And now I just call on another enum constant 3. I just create a method, and then I call this. So I would expect this also to pass, right? Because exactly the same test is here, and an enum is an enum. Basically, you normally don't, it doesn't really change, but it's failing. Strangely, how can I make it pass? You can call this. Question is why? Because what I think many people don't don't really think about this. There's as an enum, basically, is a simple class, right? It can have constructors, it can have members, basically, and you can have actually a simple method on it that actually mess up every single value that you have in there, so with one call. So not only the enum itself, so you cannot, it's not only that on the enum 1 you can do something on the enum 1, but simply on all of them, right? So, and then, okay, you shouldn't do this, but it's possible because an enum is actually simply a static class with one simple addition that you can, have these constants here, let's say. So, apart from that, it's a normal class with everything, constructors, methods, whatever you want. Yes, I think I'm running out of time, so I skipped the last two. I give it to my successor. Thanks for listening.